Welcome back to the Ball Oasis show. Um, Episode 2 of in-season episodes, I guess. Tonight was the busiest night in the league in probably a very long time, as all 15 teams are in action. Most of the games have already gone final. We're recording this, as some are still in progress on the West Coast. But it's been a fun night of basketball, Jacob, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and glad every team's played. Kind of keeps you busy.
Yeah. I can say as a fan of a team who won tonight in an exciting way, it's been a rewarding night for sure. And I know that your Sixers got a good win tonight also as well against the Suns.
Right. Surprising, but yeah, it was a good win.
Hey, it's good to be on the winning end whenever more people are watching. But in this episode, don't want to talk about too much. We had some things go on in the league this past week with the Brooklyn Nets. Personnel, staff. We don't really want to get into that because there's still so much to be determined with that. There's sure to be an ongoing headline as the season goes on, so it's not really worth mentioning on a weekly basis. Long story short, Steve Nash got fired. That's literally it. We kind of all expected that to happen at some point. So that's just really the big happening there. But there are a few teams who I really want to headline that have stood out to me the last week and that have stood out to Jacob as well, as we've found out. So, Jacob, the first team I want to get into for this episode, I want to get into the Cleveland Cavaliers. We talked shortly about the Cavs last episode, but they've been undefeated. They've been undefeated in the past week. They are 8-1 currently on the season. They are down by 3 against the Clippers in the third quarter right now. Let's see if they can pull that one out. But they're 8-1, and a few notes that I wrote on the Clippers. I mean, not the Clippers, the Cavs today. They've got the second-ranked defense as of right now, and they're the sixth-ranked offense. They're a top 5 three-point shooting team. They're first in net rating. Donovan Mitchell has been excellent leading that team on the season, averaging 31 points, 6.5 assists, 4.5 rebounds. Their entire team is playing well. The role players have stepped up, even guys who you wouldn't even really give that much attention, like Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro and Jetty Osman, guys like that. Jacob, what's impressed you the most about the Cavs so far?
Like you said, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland missed, I think, the last. I know he got hurt in the first game. I think he just came back like a game or two ago, 2 games ago, I think. But he's been kind of carrying that team, especially in the clutch. They had a few clutch games. They went down to the wire. And I guess Evan Mobley, 8 blocks the other night.
Yeah.
So I guess their defense is really their defense is really coming well together. Because I think we both said that the backcourt defense kind of would be worrisome, but that front court defense is, I don't know, it's amazing right now, and it shows. Record shows it.
Yeah. Well, the Cavs are a team whose defensive scheme is to take away the three ball. They're going to force you to beat them in other ways. And so far, that scheme has worked, and especially playing against teams like the Boston Celtics, who we've seen them pull out some close wins against, who rely on the three ball so heavily. We've seen them kind of have flat shots towards the end of games, resulting in Cavs wins in overtime. So we've seen that style of defense really work for the Cavs here early on. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Kevin Love is one of those guys who's stepped up as well. He's had some really good games. And they've just been a team that's been really connected. They seem to really be in a good rhythm right now. And they've played good teams. They've had some tough opponents.
Yeah.
They haven't just played cupcake games against the bottom feeder teams. They've played the Boston Celtics. They've played the Toronto Raptors. They've played, who else have they played, Jacob?
Chicago, maybe.
They played the Bulls. Yeah, I don't know about the Bulls though, but they played good teams. They played good teams.
Yeah.
I think they played the Miami Heat too, I believe. But yeah, the Cavs have just been super impressive. If it weren't for Will Hardy and the Utah Jazz right now, I'd say JB Bickerstaff is the coach of the year, the early front runner for that award. So he's got that team firing on all cylinders right now. They look really, really good.
They do. I think we both had them high on our standings for sure. I think you had them five or six maybe.
No, I had them at 5, and I remember you had them at 4.
Four. Yeah. Both pretty high, but they might end up being top three before the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 9-10 game sample size, so we can't say for sure, and especially
Right.
with injuries and stuff. Because, I mean, Darius Garland's been out for him, though, so they survived that injury, and they won games without him, which is a testament to that entire team. My 5 seed prediction is looking like a little bit of an undersell right now. I can see that team, the way they're playing right now at least, being a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference in the regular season.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's really all we can say about the Cavs. Hope they keep up their good play. They've been the team that's really stood out to me positively the most this past week. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum, though, Jacob. The Warriors have problems right now. The Golden State Warriors have a lot of problems right now. And
they're trailing 9 in the fourth.
Are they losing
against the
tonight?
Kings?
They're losing the Kings?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. So I'll let you start on the Warriors. I'm going to give some numbers real quick, though. So just to kind of show where the Warriors have lacked so far this season. The Warriors going into the night were bottom 3 in just overall defensive rating. They're bottom 4 in rebounding. They have the most turnovers in the league. They're bottom 5 in opponent field goal percentage. And they let their opponents get to the free throw line the most out of any team in the league. So it's defensive numbers, which is weird because the Warriors have been a team in the past that's been so connected on the defensive end. It's where they've won a lot of their championships, honestly. We know the greatness of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson shooting the ball, but defensively is where they've really locked in and made their impact. Jacob, what have you seen different this year about that Golden State Warriors defense?
Like you said, the defense. I think when the starters come out of the floor, I think that's when the starters are game. It's a positive defensive rating, I think. But once somebody from the it's just really plus 120 put on them, I think, a few times.
Yeah.
It's just a defense. Like James Wiseman I think it was a stat a few days ago. I think he's like allowing the highest field goal percentage at the rim right now, I think. So it's like Jonathan Kuminga, he's been in and out of rotation. I think he was in it tonight. But it's just their defense, I guess. And Steph is, carrying them on offense. I think he's multiple 30-point games, but it's just the defense, the biggest thing.
Yeah, and the James Wiseman point that you bring up, I've seen some of the same stats that James Wiseman is one of the worst, has one of the worst net ratings of any player in the league on the floor right now. He's giving up shots at the rim. He's getting in foul trouble, and he just hasn't really found it. He hasn't really found his role on that Warriors team, and he's been played off the floor so far this year. Honestly, I know he hasn't gotten any run tonight before we started recording. They're starting Anthony Lamb above him tonight, I believe, who's like a G League player, a two-way player.
Yeah.
So it's a tough scene in Golden State right now because these are bad teams that they're losing to. They had a little stretch last week where they lost to Charlotte, Detroit, and Orlando in the span of like 7 days. That's really bad. Those are all teams who are going to be in the tanking sweepstakes. So the Warriors have some problems right now in an area that's never really been a problem for them before. So I'm really interested to see kind of the fixes and the antidotes for what's been going on wrong for them lately, because I know that they have tough games coming up.
Yeah. But like you said, it's early, but I'm not going to worry about him too much right now. If it keeps going, though, I mean, it might be a very big thing.
Yeah, and we knew this would be a thing with the Warriors too, with the young players that they have. Knew it wasn't going to be a seamless transition, but with the leaders on that team like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and Andre Iguodala, I did expect it to go better than this so far, but it's still very young in the season, and if we know one thing about the Warriors, they tend to get hot at the right time. So yeah, I'm not too worried about them either in the long run, the grand scheme of things. But it is just weird to see right now the Warriors really struggling on the defensive end.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah. Back to the positive end of the spectrum, though. I know that they just suffered their first loss tonight to Atlanta, but so far on the season, the Milwaukee Bucks have probably been the best team in the league, and it's been by a pretty wide margin. I guess the Cavs are up there too, but I would still say the Bucks have looked the best out of anybody so far this season. Wouldn't you say, Jacob?
Yeah, I would say even missing Chris Middleton too, so pretty big piece of their team. They're first loss tonight, but
Yeah, and I mean
they're
everybody on that team is just clicking on all cylinders right now. I mean, you've got Giannis, who's the runaway MVP. I'll give some numbers real fast on them. They
all right.
far and away have the number one defense in the league so far this season. Drew Holiday and Bobby Portis in particular. Bobby Portis has been getting on the glass. I know he had 21 rebounds in a game yesterday, I believe, yesterday or Saturday. And Drew Holiday has had multiple 30-point games on this young season, picking up the scoring slack that you have when Chris Middleton isn't on the floor. So those guys have really stepped it up. They're the number one rebounding team, going along with what I said about Bobby Portis. That includes Brook Lopez as well. And Serge Ibaka. Serge Ibaka's had some minutes on the young season. So this is just a well-connected team. I think we said that in the last episode. But with Giannis being the leader of that team, the best player in the world, they just look like what we expected.
We were froze for a minute. But I think Brook Lopez has stood out to me the most with Milwaukee, besides Giannis, of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I want to say he's averaging 3 blocks right now.
Yeah, he is averaging
3 blocks. I think 3 blocks, and he's hit the 3 ball pretty well. I forgot what his percentage. Huh?
I said Splash Mountain. Go ahead, keep your average on.
Yeah, I want to say it was. I don't know the exact percentage, but he's been hitting at a pretty high rate, and I think that's just so important. I think he was averaging 3, and Giannis is averaging, I want to say 2.5 blocks.
Yeah.
That defense is just something else.
Yeah, it's hard to score in the paint against the Milwaukee Bucks, and with Drew Holiday man the defense on the perimeter with guys who lock up like Javon Carter and Wesley Matthews as well. It's hard to score on the Milwaukee Bucks, especially when the game gets into like half court late in games. The Bucks are a team that's going to close out games defending in the half court, so they look as advertised. The Milwaukee Bucks do so far this season.
Yeah, I agree. Certainly, their defense will stick, and offense will be better when Chris Middleton comes back.
Yeah. There's one more team that I really want to talk about before we get into one more segment here today, and I want to talk about the Phoenix Suns. I wanted to talk about the Phoenix Suns. Oh, sorry about that. 1 second. There we go. I wanted to talk about the Phoenix Suns because they've been able to sustain their great level of play without having Jay Crowder, who of course we know is sitting out, but now without Cam Johnson, who's going to miss a considerable amount of time with a torn meniscus, unfortunately. The Suns on the young season, they're 7-2. I guess 7-3 now after tonight. But they have going into the night, they had the third-ranked offense and defense. Clutch time, the Suns have played almost as well as anyone in the league. Their only 2 losses going before tonight losing to the Sixers came off game winners against the Blazers. They lost off 2 game-winning shots, which I could say the Jeremy Grant one was a travel. He definitely did travel on that play, but we had a call go against us the other night. So what goes around comes around. But the Suns still look good. I know that their depth is a little questionable, but they've had some guys step up. I know Torrey Craig has come in and given them good defensive minutes. Cam Payne has looked better this season than he did at the start of last season.
Looked good today. Yeah, he looked really good today.
Yeah.
Chris Paul went down, halftime or second quarter halftime, and he stepped up in the second half.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to watch those highlights yet, so I have to go back and watch those. But I know Landry Shamet has given them good minutes so far. Dario Saric is working his way back from injury. They got Jock Lawndale, who is playing the backup big minutes, and he's been serviceable so far this season. And this is a team who hasn't had great games yet from guys like DeAndre Ayton, and only a couple really good ones from Devin Booker so far. So the Suns still look as advertised as well in the regular season. When it comes to playoffs, of course, we know things might change, but as for now, the Suns still look really good.
Yeah, I didn't think they'd be this good with the drama they had in the offseason, but it's proven very wrong.
Yeah, after that loss to the 36ers, we thought they were in for a world of trouble.
I thought they would start bad.
Yeah, they've come out. They've gotten off to a good start to the season. Credit Monty Williams as well for having that group playing high level ball. But Jacob, I want to get into this segment. It's the last segment of the episode, but it might take a few minutes. I know we're only 2-3 weeks into the season, but let's overreact. Let's project a little bit, and let's talk about some contenders or pretenders. Contenders or pretenders. I have 4 teams here, Jacob, and these 4 teams were teams going into the season who you would probably look at as each being a contending team. And I want to know if you think that what you've seen based off the first 2 weeks of them on the floor has changed your mind about these teams. So, the first team that I want to throw at you is the Los Angeles Clippers. Where do you sit on the Los Angeles Clippers? Do you think they're still a contender, or do you think at this point they might be a pretender?
I'm moving to pretender.
Really?
Yeah. I don't want to because they are, fully healthy. You can say they can be one of the best teams in the league, but I don't even know if they're capable of being fully healthy. So, and plus, I want to say their bench. They have a good bench, but they haven't been very productive here lately. Last few games, or what I've seen. But the Kawhi Leonard situation, I think he's out indefinitely right now.
Yeah.
I know John Wall has his rest days every few games or like every other game. Yeah, I'm moving closer to pretenders than I am. I don't know what their record is right now. I think
they're around 500, I believe.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up now.
I think they're 5-4 tonight.
5-4.
Yeah, I'm almost positive about that. But I added them at the top of the list for that reason, because Kawhi Leonard's timetable is now indefinite, which we saw him the first couple games of the season being brought off the bench. We thought that would be something where he just kind of worked back into a starting role, but no, now it looks like Kawhi Leonard is going to miss some extended time. And with the questions with John Wall as well, how much will he play? And even Paul George having some injury concerns still too, which seems to just be the common theme for the Clippers. And their role players have not played very well to start the season. If it weren't for their crosstown rivals, the Clippers would be probably the worst offensive team so far in the league this season. I know Norman Powell has been abysmal shooting wise to start the season. Reggie Jackson has not gotten off to a good start.
Right.
Nick Batum hasn't given them much. They just haven't looked great so far to start the season. And I know the Clippers can be kind of like the Warriors we mentioned, a team who can get hot at the right time. But with them, it would take their guys being there for that to happen. And right now, it just looks a little scary for the Clippers. So I had them as a contender coming into the season, and I might be inclined to move them to the pretender tier as well, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe an overreaction, but say what you're gonna say.
I want to say Kawhi. I feel like Kawhi can miss more games than he plays, but I don't know.
He can or he will.
I don't know. It's common. I think he will slightly. I'm not. I don't want to bet on it right now though.
Yeah. Indefinite is a scary thing to hear with Kawhi Leonard too, because in times where we've heard that
Yeah.
before, it's usually been extended time where he's missed. So, and especially with it being an ACL injury, man, I just feel so bad for Clippers fans. I know there aren't very many of them, but they've had the squad, they've had the personnel to really compete. They just haven't been on the floor. They've got one of the best coaches in the league, and they just haven't been able to put all the pieces together to really make a run outside of the bubble, where anything flew in the bubble, where they got come back from a 3-1 lead by the Nuggets. But yeah, the Clippers don't look great right now.
Yeah. It's about tied with it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they can pull out this win tonight. Maybe they can start a little winning streak. We'll see what happens. But
Yeah.
the second team I have on this list is the Miami Heat. Now, the Miami Heat suffered a very tough loss tonight to Portland Trailblazers. Jacob, if you didn't know, the Heat had a 15-point lead towards the end of the third quarter in the game tonight. They dominated us in pretty much every aspect of the game, and it was kind of just I don't even know the word. I can't think of the word, but a microcosm, I guess, of the Miami Heat season so far. They completely collapsed in the fourth quarter, giving up open shots. Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, Josh Hart coming down the stretch were getting any look that they wanted. Damian Lillard was setting his teammates up. It's beautiful to watch for me, of course. But the Heat have not looked sharp. They haven't looked sharp early on, and they've had their guys play. I know they didn't have Tyler Hero play tonight, but they've had pretty much everybody play for the most part. They just, I'm, I'm. This team doesn't look good either. They're kind of in the same boat as the Clippers right now. Their offense in the half court, we know how it's been stagnant before, especially in the playoffs, but now it's really shown in the regular season as well. Jacob, what's your biggest concern with this Miami Heat team?
I haven't watched them a lot, but like you said, the scoring.
Yeah.
I think I said last episode, Kyle Lowry has not been very good, and I guess them missing the four is kind of hurting him some. I know Jimmy's played some four, and I know who
Caleb Martin.
who was it? Caleb Martin was playing, but I don't know. It's just their offense. Like I think Tyler Hero is like their main source of offense most times.
Yeah, and what they are relying on right now for them to stay in games offensively is for multiple shooters to get hot. Like it would take
Yeah,
a good Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent shooting game for them to win. And
right.
the odds are that's not going to happen every night. So the Miami Heat are kind of out of luck on the offensive end. They're a bottom third offensive team as well. We know they're going to bring it defensively because that's what they do. But I mean, if you can't score, you can't compete with the best teams in this league. So the Miami Heat are in a dangerous position. I think that they might be either 4-7 or 5-6 after tonight. I believe they're one of those. Their record does not look very good as well either, and they've dropped
Yeah.
some bad games too. I know they dropped a game to the Pacers the other night. They didn't they lose to the Kings or did they beat the Kings? No, Tyler Hero had a game winner against the Kings, but they almost lost to the Kings. But they've lost to some bad teams.
Yeah. Yeah, they haven't had many. I'm trying to see now. They've lost to I think the Pacers. I think they beat the Kings on the game winner. I think,
Yes, that was the Tyler Hero game.
but yeah, they're 4-7. I don't know. Like we said it before, it's kind of early, but I really don't like what I've seen from them.
Yeah, they haven't been able to close out games too in the fourth quarter like we saw tonight, and then they've had some games like that Pacers game the other night. They just haven't been able to close games, and that's something that they've generally been able to do in the past, outside of that Kings game, of course. But yeah, the Miami Heat
Yeah.
don't. Jacob, The third team on my list is the Philadelphia 76ers. And really, the only reason why I have them on this list is because of the injury to James Harden, because of the absence of Joel Embiid some games. The Sixers picked up a big
Yeah.
win tonight against the Suns. That was a big win. And I know that they've looked pretty good after a pretty bad start to the season. So, me personally, I'll go ahead and answer first. I would still put them in the contender tier. Maybe,
Mhm.
maybe it was just the success that Cleveland has had and that Milwaukee has had and that Boston is having that maybe made me put it in question. But I think that their team also could still get hot at the right time, but they just need to be on the floor together.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jacob?
Yeah, I'm still going contender. Like you said, they need to be on the floor together. I think our offense is, I'm not gonna say great, but it's pretty good. It's just our defense is lacking still. Even well, except tonight. Tonight we were up 15 on Phoenix. For most of the game, up double digits until I think the third or fourth quarter, and they came back. But yeah, if I think James is out a month, Joel's more than likely gonna miss another few games until he comes back. But I'll still keep up a contender spot, even though other teams are gotten out to a better start. But I think once they're on the floor together, it'll turn out fine.
Yeah, and for this stretch, they're going to need guys to step up. I know that they've got some hard games coming up here in the next week or two.
Yeah,
We saw George
yeah,
Niang get 7 3 tonight, so he stepped up in a big way. Maybe it takes a DeAnthony Melton game or a Tobias Harris game where he scores like 35 points or another 40-point game from Maxey. And of course, these aren't things that you can rely on every single night, but just to suffice until James Harden comes back, maybe you have some of those games that keep you afloat. And the defense can improve still as well. Um, Tonight,
yeah,
holding the Suns to 88 points is definitely a good start. But yeah, I'd still have the Sixers in the contending tier. I think that they're still. Um, I haven't changed my mind too much about them. It's just I wish they were able to be on the floor together. That's all.
yeah. I think that's the biggest thing is just the chemistry, team chemistry, which has gotten better since the start of the year.
Yeah. All right. The last team on this contender pretender list for this episode, we might bring this back for maybe next week, maybe in a week or two. We'll see how some teams are trending up or down. The last team is the Denver Nuggets, and I put the Denver Nuggets on here just because their wins haven't been necessarily impressive, in my opinion. The games that they
Yeah,
have won, I know a win is a win in the NBA. There's no like ranking system, but
yeah.
the Nuggets, I believe they won tonight. I think they beat the Spurs. Did they? Let me check. I have it.
I think
I know they were up by like 3 with like 3 minutes left.
they beat them 115, 109.
Okay, so the Nuggets are 7 and
So yeah,
3.
yeah, they beat them.
It just doesn't really feel like it though. Um, but with that being said, the Nuggets are still in my contending tier just because I think that this is the adjustment period. This is the adjustment period for Jamal Murray, for Michael Porter Jr. And I've seen flashes of them being the best version of themselves here so far. Of course, we haven't seen that for an extended period of time, but we can't expect that with them coming off injuries that have kept them out for a year plus. So I'm still high on the Denver Nuggets. They just haven't been super impressive, and I guess that's why I put them on this list. Jacob, how do you feel about the Denver Nuggets right now?
Yeah, I'll still keep them as contenders for right now. Like I said, it's just not impressive wins. Um, but I have watched a few of their games. Michael Porter Jr. looks good. I forgot what it was, but he's shooting the three ball pretty well. I forgot if how good it was. I think he's averaging 18, maybe. I think
Yeah, it's somewhere
around
around
that range, somewhere around that range. They look pretty good. Like I said, they're coming off an injury, so I think it'll just take time for them to get back in the groove and get used to playing again.
Yeah, and I know Bones Highland has come in giving them some big games off the bench as well. He's such a weird player because he can either have a night where he's 10 for 14 with 25 points off that bench, or he'll go 1 for 11 for like three
Yeah,
points. So he's a flamethrower when he's hot, and he's a freezer when he's cold. But he's so fun to watch whenever he's on. I've enjoyed watching him on the floor for the Denver Nuggets so far this young season. But those are the 4 teams for this episode. I wanted to put one more. I thought about putting the Memphis Grizzlies, or like I thought about trolling and putting the Utah Jazz on there, but I think we know the answer to that one. Okay, I have some homework. I have some homework for the people who are watching this. Watch the Utah Jazz play basketball. I feel like people aren't watching the Utah Jazz play, but they are so fun right now. Watch the Utah Jazz play basketball, because it is the most unhinged group of decent players having good games against good teams, and it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. Watch the Utah Jazz play basketball. That's your homework from me.
Yeah, they're winning tonight too.
Yeah, they're playing the Lakers.
They're up
so that's kind of expected.
Yeah.
Oh my
up 23. So
they're going for 140 on the Lakers. My goodness. Yeah, don't watch. I know the Lakers are on TV a lot. Watch the Utah Jazz over the Lakers.
Yeah, I think we've texted about it before. They're just too decent. I don't know. I don't know how much further, or how many more games they're going to try to win, but I don't know.
At this point, they might as well just ride it out and see what happens.
Yeah.
It might end up with them being like the 8 seed or the 9 seed, but for the time being, just go for it. Honestly, your team is having a lot of fun. Your fans are enjoying it. I'm enjoying watching them play.
Yeah, they don't have like just a star, so it's just everybody's just playing their own great team ball. I guess they're very fun to watch because I've watched not all their games, but a majority of their games.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the games that I've missed of them, going back and watching their highlights, just because I know it's going to be some stupid like Larry Markkinen shooting 12 for 15, or Kelly Olynyk scoring 25 points, or Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, and Mike Conley all going for over 20. It's so dumb with the Jazz, but it's one of my favorite storylines of the young season.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very surprising team. We both had them very low.
Yeah.
Or we weren't high on them at all.
Yeah. Well, I guess that about wraps up this episode. I see that this Warriors game is coming on to the wire, so I think we should go watch the end of that. We'll catch up with y'all next week. Homework: watch the Jazz. Anything you want to say, Jacob, before we head out?
Nah, just what you said. Watch the Jazz.
Watch the Jazz. All right. We'll see y'all next week. We'll have some more things to talk about, I'm sure, and see y'all next week.
Yeah.